The afternoon sun spilled through the living room blinds, making stripes across the carpet where my son, Ethan, sat cross-legged with his toy cars. He was 8, all energy and sincerity, the kind of boy who said, "please," even to the dog. My mother sat stiff on the couch, her purse balanced perfectly on her lap, like she was waiting to be photographed for a magazine she thought she belonged in. She'd come over uninvited again, saying she missed her grandson. I should have known that meant trouble. "Come here, Ethan," she said, voice sharp enough to slice air. "What do you call me?" He looked up, blinking. Hi." Her eyes narrowed. "Hi? Not Grandma? What did your mother teach you? That elders don't deserve respect?" I froze halfway between the kitchen and the hallway. "Mom, he's just a kid. He said hi." Her hand went up before I could stop her. The heel of her shoe cracked against Ethan's small shoulder, then bounced off the floor. The sound echoed, the kind that makes silence worse than noise. He flinched, his little cars tumbling over like casualties. "Mom!" I screamed. "What are you doing?" She didn't even look at me. "Maybe this will teach him how to speak properly to adults. You've been too soft on him, Lisa. That's why he's turning out like you. Weak." Ethan was crying now, holding his arm. The sound tore something out of me. I rushed over and pulled him close, glaring up at her. "You don't get to touch my son." "Oh, please." She scoffed, smoothing her skirt like she'd spilled tea. "Don't be dramatic. A shoe won't kill him, but your no-discipline parenting might." She looked around my small apartment with disgust, eyes dragging over the mismatched furniture, the half-painted walls, the dishes drying by the sink. "You live like this and you think you can teach me about raising children? You forget who fed you for 25 years. "Fed me?" I whispered. "You starved me of everything that mattered." Her smile was cruel. "And look how that toughened you up." Ethan pressed into my side, trembling. "Mommy, can we go?" I turned toward the door, but she snapped. "You walk away from me again, and don't bother coming back. Remember, Lisa, family is all you've got." I looked back at her, perfectly composed, hands folded, no trace of guilt. "You keep saying that like it's a blessing," I said quietly. "But every time I believe you, I lose a piece of myself." She laughed. "You always had too many pieces anyway. No wonder no man wants you." That hit harder than the shoe. I didn't respond. I just took Ethan's hand, opened the door, and walked out. Behind us, she shouted, "You'll regret this when he grows up and forgets you too." We stood in the parking lot for a long minute, the air still thick with her voice. Ethan wiped his face with his sleeve. "Did I do something bad, Mom?" I knelt beside him. "No, baby, you did nothing wrong. Some people hit because they can't handle being ignored." He nodded slowly, confusion still clouding his eyes. He didn't understand. How could he? But I knew then something final had snapped, deeper than my patience. That night, I stared at the ceiling long after he'd fallen asleep. My phone lit up twice with her name, Mom. I didn't answer. Not that night, not the next day, not the next week. She left voicemails, guilt dressed as love, as always. "He needs to learn manners. You're ruining him." A good mother wouldn't keep her child from his grandmother. Each one cut like paper, small but relentless. Then came the message that started everything. "If you won't raise him right, I will. I'm calling the school tomorrow. Don't think I won't." My hands shook. She'd crossed a line she couldn't uncross. I walked to Ethan's room, watched him sleep, and whispered a promise to the dark. "You'll never cry because of her again." I didn't know what my revenge would look like yet, but I knew this. It wouldn't be poetic. It would be deliberate, real, something she'd feel every day, the same way I'd felt her control for years, and this time she wouldn't see it coming. The days after that visit were quieter than usual, the kind of silence that hums under your skin. Ethan stopped asking about Grandma after a while. He just drew smaller at the table, shoulders curled, eyes always darting toward the door whenever someone knocked. I tried to pretend things were normal. We went to school, to the park, to the grocery store. But every time I saw a woman with gray hair or heard a voice that carried that same sharp tone as my mother's, something inside me tensed. Then, on a Friday morning, the school called. "Ms. Brooks, your son was picked up early today," the secretary said. His grandmother said she had permission. My blood ran cold. What? I drove faster than I ever had before. When I reached my mother's house, Ethan was on the couch, holding a juice box, looking small. She smiled like she'd just done me a favor. "You're welcome," she said. "He missed me. I'm teaching him manners again." I stared at her. "You took him without telling me?" Her smile didn't falter. "You're overreacting. You left him with teachers. I'm his family. That still means something, doesn't it?" Ethan's lip trembled. "She said you told her it's okay." My chest tightened. "Mom, you lied to him?" "Lied?" She laughed, low and cruel. "You've been lying to yourself for years, Lisa, pretending you're better than how you were raised. But look at you, alone, exhausted, raising a boy who doesn't even know how to respect his elders." I took Ethan's hand. "We're leaving." She stepped in front of me, blocking the door. "Not until you apologize for how you spoke to me. I'm your mother. You owe me that." Her words landed like they always had, heavy, suffocating, but something in me had shifted. I wasn't the scared little girl anymore. I met her eyes and said, "You lost the right to call yourself that when you hit my child." For the first time, she blinked. Not much, but enough. The mask cracked. I pushed past her and walked out with Ethan, shaking but steady. As we got into the car, she called after me, "You'll regret this. No one disrespects me and walks away." That night, after Ethan went to bed, I opened my old storage box, the one filled with things I'd tried to forget. School records, old hospital papers, the photo of me at 8 years old with a split lip my mother said I earned. For years, I'd hidden my truth to protect her image, but now she'd dragged my son into the same cycle. I couldn't let that stand. I scanned every document, every photo, every proof of what she'd done. Medical visits labeled domestic injury, school reports of parental conflict, old messages where she'd called me worthless, lazy, unfit. I'd buried it all, until now. The next morning, I went to the community center where she volunteered. She was at the reception desk, all smiles and fake grace, telling everyone how much she loved helping children. I waited until she looked at me, and her smile faltered. "Lisa," she said slowly, "what are you doing here?" I placed a manila envelope on the counter. "This is what you taught me," I said softly. "To fight back." Inside were the scanned records, the photos, everything. I didn't need to post them online. I didn't have to say a word. I just handed them to the board director, an older woman who'd known my mom for years. By the next week, her volunteer position was gone. The board called it a necessary review. The neighbors stopped coming around. People started whispering. My mother showed up at my apartment days later, hair unkempt, fury barely contained. "You humiliated me," she hissed. "You turned my life into dirt." I stared at her, calm. "You taught me that's how respect works, remember?" Her voice broke. "You're nothing without me." I smiled faintly. "Maybe, but at least I'm not afraid anymore." She stormed out, slamming the door. For once, her words didn't echo inside me. They bounced off like stones hitting steel. That night, Ethan curled beside me on the couch, whispering, "Mom, she won't hit me again, right?" I wrapped an arm around him. "No, baby," I said quietly. "No one ever will." But deep down, I knew it wasn't over yet. My mother had always been a master of retaliation, and I could feel the storm building. And when it came, I'd be ready this time. 3 weeks later, the storm finally broke. It started with a call from my mother's neighbor. "Lisa," she said quietly, "your mom's been sitting on the porch for hours, just staring. She doesn't talk to anyone anymore." I didn't know how to feel. Pity fought with anger. All I could picture was Ethan's terrified face the day she raised that shoe. But the part of me that still craved closure, not forgiveness, just peace, wanted to see for myself. So, one gray Sunday, I drove back to the house I swore I'd never enter again. The yard was overgrown. The porch light flickered like it was too tired to shine. My mother sat on the steps, thinner, smaller somehow. For the first time, she looked human, not the monster who'd ruled my childhood. She looked up. "You finally came," she said hoarsely. "Everyone's gone. They think I'm crazy. You did this to me." I swallowed hard. "You did it to yourself." Her eyes filled with something between hate and fear. "You made me lose everything. The church, my friends, my name. You hit my son, Mom." My voice shook, but I didn't stop. "You humiliated me for years. You broke things in me I'm still trying to fix. You turned love into fear. I didn't destroy your life. I just stopped protecting your version of it." For a long moment she said nothing. Then she laughed, dry, bitter. "You sound just like your father." "No," I said quietly. "I sound like a mother protecting her child." Her hand trembled. "You'll regret this one day, Lisa. When he grows up and leaves you too. When he looks at you and sees everything you tried to hide." I stepped closer, just enough for her to hear the steadiness in my voice. "If he leaves, it'll be because he's free. Not because he's afraid." She didn't respond. She just turned her head away, muttering to herself, "Disrespect. Always disrespect." I walked back to the car, heart pounding but lighter than it had felt in years. Ethan was waiting in the back seat, clutching his stuffed fox. "Did she yell at you, Mom?" I smiled faintly. "No, not anymore." He looked relieved, and as we drove away, I realized that was the first time he hadn't looked scared of family. That mattered more than any revenge. But life has a way of circling back. 2 months later, the school invited me to a family respect assembly. Parents were encouraged to speak about values. I nearly skipped it, until I saw the flyer. Guest speaker, Mrs. Brooks, community advocate for family discipline. My blood boiled. Somehow she'd clawed her way back into public view. That night, I didn't sleep. I found the old envelope, the one with the documents, and added one more thing, a short letter written in my own words. Not angry, just true. It described growing up afraid, the years of emotional abuse, and the day she hit her grandson. The morning of the event, I slipped that envelope into the stack of handouts the school planned to distribute. When she walked on stage, smiling and proud, holding a mic like a crown, I sat in the back row and watched. 10 minutes in, murmurs started spreading through the crowd. One by one. Parents opened the envelope and stared at the contents. Her voice wavered, then stopped. "Mrs. Brooks," someone said from the audience, "is this true?" She froze. For once, words failed her. The silence that followed was heavy, the kind that ends reputations. I didn't stay to see the rest. I walked out into the sunlight where Ethan was waiting with his backpack. "Can we go to the park now?" he asked. "Yeah," I said softly. "We can go anywhere we want." As we walked away, the wind carried faint echoes from inside. My mother's trembling voice trying to explain what couldn't be explained. For years, she'd demanded respect through fear. Now, all she had left was the echo of her own cruelty. And for the first time, I wasn't her daughter. I was just free.